This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether mom's into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried and true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now you can save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with up to 50% off site-wide during Movement's Mother's Day sale at MVMT.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at MVMT.com.
Hello? Anyone down here?
Nobody but the FBI's most unwanted. I've been waiting 23 years to say that.
How'd it feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Xcast. The truth is in here. I'm your host, Tony Black, as ever, and I am joined for this exploration of Season 10, Episode 5, the penultimate episode of the new series, Babylon, by, once again, Mr. Andrew Brooker.
Hello, mate.
How are you, mate? You all right?
I am good, thanks, mate. I am good.
Fantastic. This is the last set of coverage you're going to be doing with us of the new series. How do you feel?
I wish it was ending on a better note.
There's a clue, everybody, to quite how this is going to go down today, and possibly for the next few segments. Today we're going to focus on Mulder and Scully's role in Babylon, and we're going to talk a little bit about their journey. But before then, I think it's only prudent to ask you, Andrew, what did you think of Babylon?
Oh, fucking hell.
That's it. Review done. Sorted. Those
pretty much.
Words. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at best, it's just a really bad episode. At worst, it's misguided and racist.
Yeah.
That it may be one of the most awful bits of TV, not just X-Files, but TV I've watched in quite some time.
Yeah, I put similar in my my written review, which, as I always plug, you can find at thebottleepisode.co.uk. That went up today. I did say it's the most, not just the most dreadful X-File I can remember in a long, long time, but it's also one of the most dreadful episodes of TV in general. I completely agree with you. Halfway in, I was watching it upstairs, and my girlfriend who'd been downstairs, she came up and she said, how is it? You know, because she knows I watch it, and she's watching the original episodes with me. And I said, it's so bad, just so bad. And she was like, oh, because she normally, I'm like going, yeah, it's good, or it's, you know, last week it was a little bit, yeah, it's all right, but, you know, or the weeks before it's been, yeah, it's brilliant, but this week she's like, oh. And then as she was watching it, she said, why is this all about Muslims?
Yep.
You know, why does this have to be about Muslims? And I sat there trying to defend this and say, you know, well, it's Chris Carter, and we'll talk more about this in time, but Chris Carter tapping into, like, modern, you know, fears, especially amongst Americans. But she got me thinking afterwards, and I was like, well, yeah, why is it Muslims?
It could be absolutely anybody. This is the thing. The thing he's talking about, the whole domestic terrorism side of it, could be anybody. And it would have been a much better episode if, from the off, it didn't put me on my back foot and going, hold on a fucking minute. This is, you know, I said this as I was watching it yesterday, and it feels like Chris Carter has accidentally made a 24 episode.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand the thinking of it. And you are right, you know, because he's done the whole, all the modern fears that we have in this little 6-episode thing. And for the most part, more or less, I think he's done all right. This, no. Just no.
Yeah, completely. And there are so many things, I think, to break down with this, and we do have some interesting feedback. I think this has been part, you know, polarising a little bit to certain people, but I think the main feedback we've had on the whole has been for people saying similar to what we have. But I will get into a little bit of that later. I have to say, you were the first one to reply when I said on Twitter, what do people think? And you just went, awful episode.
It just put my back up.
Yeah.
You know, I felt so betrayed.
Yeah, you know, I know. And I'll be honest, I didn't know, and this is where I have to apologise for last week, because I didn't realise that this was Chris Carter doing this. I was convinced it was Glenn Morgan and James Wong. I don't know if I'd read that somewhere, or I was just hoping on hope. But when I saw Chris Carter's name come up as a writer, I went, oh. And then I went, oh.
Yeah, I've done the same thing, because, I mean, when he's on his own, he doesn't do the best doesn't do the best non-mythology episodes.
No, he doesn't. No.
I don't think he quite knows where to put his head when he's doing what should be a standard. It's not a Monster of the Week episode.
It's a nothing episode. It's not about anything, as far as I can tell.
It's an NCIS episode where they've replaced random psychic they take the piss out of with Mulder and Scully.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You saying about where Chris Carter doesn't know where to put his head, I think he knows where he needs to take it out of his arse. That's basically what he needs to do with his head.
It's pretty firmly up there, isn't it?
Oh, in this episode, absolutely. And it just reminded me of all those, those moments. I said to my girlfriend afterwards, I said, it's episodes like this that made people stop watching the show back in the day. Yeah. Because they were turning on. People have been saying, "Oh, this great show! It's really scary. It's really creepy. It's tense. It can be funny. It's exciting. It's conspiracy." And they turn on and they see things like this one, or something like the Christmas Carol Emily two-parter, which was just ponderous.
Yeah.
And it's things like that or the moment, or Chris Carter starting episodes with complete monologues, and it's just like. Well, we will get to this. We will talk more about this later. But anyway, let's discuss, in this episode, before we get to a bit of feedback, let's discuss the role of Mulder and Scully in this episode. Now, it begins with Mulder looking at a video of what appears to be heavenly bells ringing from the sky at some kind of paranormal moment. It was obvious. It didn't directly tie into the story, this, did it? Unless I was mistaken, unless I missed something.
No, I don't think it did. It's just there, isn't it? It's just. I think it's just supposed to be, just another thing he's looking at in his office.
Yeah,
like it used to be back in the day. He wouldn't necessarily be on the case that he was going to be on for the episode. He'd be looking at something else.
Yeah, exactly. The whole point of this episode is about if it's about anything, it's about trying to make a point that, quite honestly, has been made for 200 episodes, that Scully is the skeptic and Mulder's the believer, and there are two clear sides up to any case. There is in this case, there's the mysticism that Mulder's interested in, and Miller is interested in, and there's the science, the neuroscience that Scully's interested in, and Einstein's interested in.
Yeah.
So it's about making that point and obviously highlighting the fact that Mulder and Scully are getting older, and there's these two young whippersnappers coming up, and we will talk more about Miller and Einstein later because they deserve their own focus, really. Yeah. But I think one of the big things with this is that every other episode of this miniseries has had some element of a journey for these guys, and if anything, the journey in this episode wasn't Mulder and Scully's; it was Miller and Einstein's journey. It was.
The problem is they've kind of, worse than any episode I think before, they've been left to the side.
Yeah,
they're completely okay. So when the whole thing ends, it turns out that Mulder actually did a little bit. But they even talk about it, Einstein and that at the end. They talk about it as they didn't do anything. Yeah. They didn't. They were completely inconsequential to the result of the episode.
Yeah.
It would have happened whether or not they were there.
Absolutely. And there was a moment, it's so passive. There was a moment when the guy's having the terrorist is having a cardiac arrest. And Scully just goes, he's having a cardiac arrest. Nobody does anything. I was sitting there going, why aren't they calling the nurses? They were like, he's going into cardiac arrest.
But the other one went, he's trying to talk to me. No. No, he's not, mate. No. He's having a fucking heart attack.
You know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. But
no, I never have.
It's a great show, but it reminded me of a moment from that in which one of the characters, the mother of Larry David's wife, shouts, he spills something down his top and she shouts, somebody get a sponge. And his argument is, why don't you get a sponge? Like, in the middle, it's a really awkward moment.
There were two doctors in the room. They don't even need to go get a nurse. They could do something themselves.
I was like, well, I was just thinking, the characterisation didn't seem quite right to me, actually, with Mulder and Scully here. Weirdly enough, it seemed like the whole thing was forcing square pegs into round holes. Didn't it seem like
the most clumsy of handovers to a new team?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, this made, the awful Age of Ultron look like a smooth transition.
Yeah, I know. And, there's been talk of whether or not Miller and Einstein are going to get their own show before this and subsequently, but I think if this was the episode to kind of be the backdoor spin-off, It was the worst.
Soft pilots.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh no,
it's just terrifying. But I think really, let's be honest. I think the whole purpose of this episode was so they could do that Mulder country and western dance number.
And what the holy fuck was that about? I mean, I'm all for, I've been a fan for quite a long time. I do wacky. I'm quite happy with wacky. Completely out of context, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas moment.
Well,
No.
yeah, and okay, you've got an episode, right? This is why it's weird in its tone. You've got an episode which begins with Muslim fundamentalists, going off and bombing a building. I mean, that opening moment where you see people literally burning alive as they stumble out of that building is horrible. And I'm thinking, right, okay, we've got a fairly interesting take on, extremism coming up here. Even though nothing paranormal happens in that trailer, in that teaser, incidentally, as far as I can tell, which is weird in itself. But then you've got that, and then suddenly you've got a whole raft of really talky scenes with Mulder and Scully. And then, you've got Mark Snow's plinky-plonky comedy music over the top.
Yep.
And I was like, well, hang on a minute. This isn't supposed to be funny.
But the thing is, there are moments where you can tell that someone thought they were being funny when they wrote it.
Yeah.
Let's look at No One in Here But the FBI's Most Unwanted.
Oh God.
Is it every fan loves that line. Every fan now hates that line.
Oh.
Because they're going to look at that and go, what the fuck were you doing?
Yeah. I've been waiting 23 years to say that. No, you haven't, Scully. Don't even lie. You fuck off, Chris Carter. No way. Right. It's just, it's the horrible moment where you go, has this whole 6 episodes been about wanking off to the last 15, 20 years? And that's what I worry about. I've had a friend of mine who doesn't really do podcasts and he doesn't really do commentary or anything, but he's a big X-Files fan and we used to live together, and he WhatsApps me every week and says, quite honestly, he says, the fuck is this shit? Right? Because he's on the British viewing, so he's just seen Founder's Mutation.
Oh,
and
wow.
I
envy that man right now.
Well, yeah, I'm going to message him and say, you haven't got, you're in the good zone here. Right? And he's like, this isn't, he says, why aren't things like in season 9 being mentioned? Why isn't this happening? Why are they doing this? And I'm trying to explain and say, look, they're trying to come at this from a new angle. They're trying to come at this from a contemporary angle. They're trying to make it relevant and all the things I still believe and I still think they've done. But at the same time, when he gets to Babylon, he's going to turn around to me and go, it's just like a parody.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to argue with that. I'm going to go, well, yeah.
It's hard to justify it after this episode, isn't it? It's hard to go. I had to say this to a guy at work who, I went back to work this week after being off for a couple of weeks, and obviously he doesn't watch the American versions like I do, or you and I do. He's just, by the time I saw him on Monday, he'd just watched the first episode. So he's like, no, I'm not watching anymore. I'm recording it all and I'm going to watch it all in one go.
Yeah.
I had to walk in this morning and go, mate, just don't. Just watch the episodes as they come, because otherwise it's going to really fucking ruin the experience for you.
It's true.
Last week's one was a bit crap and a little bit misguided, but okay. Compared to this week, man.
That makes last week look like One Breath or Home,
Yeah.
This makes Teso dos Bicos look like One Breath or Home.
It was this kind of combined moment where we watched, because, me and the wife sat and watched it, and the opening, the cold opener, as they're walking into the building, we're both looking at it going, nah, they're not going to do that. It's going to be something else. Something else got to happen. And then these two Muslims blew up the building, and just my heart sank, mate. I couldn't
you're thinking,
believe
oh
it.
God.
You've gone from the X-Files, when back in the day when you weren't a fan, it was a bit silly, and it took stupid conspiracy theories and wound them way out of proportion, but it never done something as cheap and easy as that. It just seemed so out of place. Every cop show for the last 10 years has had, more than one episode Muslims trying to blow stuff up. But it's in context to their TV shows, their cop shows, or, spy shows or something. This? No, it's a supernatural show.
Well, the thing is, they've done extremism, and they've done terrorism before. You have to look at something like the Pine Bluff variant, right? Which was very much, off the back of things like Oklahoma City bombing. It was a couple of years after that. And you had these anti-government, anti-federal, militia who were trying to, get hold of bioweapons. And that was fine, because that was about tapping into a real fear of these fringe groups, either these racist militias or these anti-government paranoid militias and everything like that. That's fine, right? Even like, myself and Matt Lambourne on the episode dealing with shadows, which is coming very soon in a couple of weeks, we talk about how there was a fundamentalist group, Muslim fundamentalist group used in that, but it was very much background. But even that, they dealt with it in a different way. This is very much a blatant attempt to go, you're all scared of Muslims. There are a lot of people out there who think Muslims are all bombers. Let's tap into that a little bit, and let's try and make the ultimate point that Mulder and Scully, in their excruciating final conversation that made no sense, that was fucking
painful
bollocks. In which the basic message is, we're all from the same Earth Mother. We're all from the same planet. Let's zoom out into space while we've got a jaunty song from fucking Enterprise playing. I was just like,
the only thing that would have improved it at this point was, do you remember the end of Men in Black?
Yeah.
When the alien uses the Earth as a marble. That's all I wanted by that point. I was like, you've gone far, far over the top now. Let's just do that. At least make me giggle at the end of it.
Darren Morgan would have done that.
Yeah. But I'm sitting there literally like mouth wide open, arms going, what the fuck am I watching?
It was just painful dialogue, and David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson give it what they've got. But even they, I think there's a little element of them going, really? Like, is this? There are moments for their characters. You've obviously got them trying to prove, trying to basically put the trick on Miller and Einstein. Yeah. And then you've got things like, Scully mentioning how, she's lost a mother and stuff like that. But it's very much, like you said, they're very background. They don't do anything in the story. There's no development of them. And by the end, when Mulder gives his big rambling speech about, what it means to all be one in this Earth, I was like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to... What is this all been... What has the point of this entire episode been?
But it was like when Scully mentions her mum, though. Scully, my mum was in a coma and that's it.
Yeah.
I couldn't communicate with her. No, we know, because she was in a coma. This isn't information that's necessary in this episode. And Miller seemed really fucking callous about it as well.
Yeah.
I take it she's gone. Oh, nice. Charming.
Yeah, thanks for asking so, caringly. It's just, by the end, I just wanted it. I was like,
I wanted it to be over.
Let it end. Well, halfway through, I was thinking, please let this be over. Please.
The only thing that gives me solace now, mate, is that at some point I hope that Duchovny and Anderson read the script for this and went, this is fucking terrible, and then read the one for what we get next week and gone, okay, this makes up for it.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Fingers crossed. I know it's got a lot to prove now.
This is now the second week in a row, mate. We've gone. It can't be any worse than this.
Well, unfortunately, I've seen a spoiler for next week. Not a massive spoiler, but enough of a spoiler to know a little bit about where the story's going, and it is potentially going to be exciting for fans. Whether or not it's going to be any good, I don't know, but we will see. The general consensus, finally, before we go today, has been on Twitter from several people similar to us. We had Christian Villacorte at XTNMD said, awkward Mulder scene, unnecessarily excessive, wince-inducing, definite fan service, which I think is a good point. Failed Steve, at Failed Steve, our friend Steve Norman from Failed Critics.
Oh, I love Steve.
Steve's brilliant. Steve just went stupid on every level.
Yep.
And you can just hear him saying it. Just sitting there at the telly going, fuck off.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he was doing as well.
And then finally we had Priyangana Laha at Rebel with Any, who said, in response to me asking about Babylon, she went, it's a dangerous question to ask. That was all she put. It's true. Because it seems to have divided people. I've seen on Facebook and Twitter today on the X-Files threads, people going, oh, it's brilliant, or oh, we hate Miller and Einstein, but the rest is great. Oh, that dance scene, oh, Mulder, everything like that. And the greatest of respect to those people, but from a dramatic perspective, if you have 6 episodes, that is not a script you make.
You don't have time for something like that.
No. That's something you do in your 5th or 6th season when you've got 25 episodes.
That's 2 or 3 episodes away from your mid-season finale, just so you can calm people down before your big cliffhanger before your month off over Christmas. It's not penultimate. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more I think about it, the stupider it gets and the angrier it makes me.
Well, good, because we've got 2 more of these to do. So
I'm just going to be spitting glass by episode 3, aren't I?
Be more entertaining than that episode, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
But, okay, well, we'll be back tomorrow for a more in-depth look at Agents Miller and Agents Einstein. So, we'll be giving some more thoughts on Babylon. We'll have some more feedback. Remember to let us know what you think about the miniseries. We've been harsh on this episode, but we still have loved several episodes of this. So come and let us know what you think. We still there is hope still. So keep us posted. And until next time, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, and we'll be back soon. And remember, until then, trust no one.
If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.